Let's go to our panel in Khartoum. Isam Abu Hassabu is a senior member of Sudan's opposition forces for freedom and change. Balghis Badri is the director of the Regional Institute for Gender Diversity, Peace and Rights at Ahfad University for Women. And Hamid Murtada is an activist who was jailed during protest last month. Hamid, I asked you last time if you trusted the army. This is a few weeks on. Do you trust the military council any more than you did the last time I spoke to you?
I think my doubts about trusting the council a couple of weeks ago are still legit, and the reasons why I can't fully trust the military council is that although they have promised on several occasions that they are keen on transferring power to civilians and that they will do this immediately, and they have no interest in keeping power in their hands. Until now, they have not done so. Until now, the negotiations, although are progressing, but not as quick as it's supposed to be, and they're still trying to keep their hands on power and make sure that they do not give up on everything, and that they make sure that they have a word in the way Sudan will be governed in the transitional period. Although the military's role is to defend, not to rule the country, and not to take part in governing the country. But they seem to not be interested in letting go of all power to civilians.
Okay, Balghis Badri, is that fair? Hamid says they're not interested, whereas the military council is saying they just want to help manage a 3-year transition before Sudan goes to civilian rule.
Well, I think, yes, we should have trust on each other. And accordingly, there are certain issues already agreed upon. That is to say, the 3 levels of governing Sudan agreed upon. And so it is just the issue of the, let us say, the Presidential Council. I think there could be possibilities of trying to make a kind of a compromise. And according to me, to my own ideas, a compromise is possible if we split the transitional period into 2 of 1 year, where we are going to have a council. The presidency could be 6 months for the civilians and 6 months for the military, and by rotation. That could be a possibility for the first year, and then people will see what are the progress. Are they going to continue in the rotation, or it is going to be the civilians to have certain component of responsibility within the presidential, as well as the military will have another component of the presidential. That is to say, the peace. Right. And so we could have it like that, a kind of two things, and then to have people have to work very hard on different ideas for compromises. Right. There is no way of just having a conflict.
Isam, we're looking at people proposing some creative solutions here, just as we heard from Balghis. Perhaps they should take turns during this interim period. As we look at it right now, who needs to do more? Do the protesters and the opposition need to be more patient, or does the military council need to be more accommodating?
Yes, I think any omniscient observer would agree to the fact that there is a dramatic shift of power that has taken place recently. And answer to your question, I think it's a mutual interest, whereas all parties involved are obliged and compelled to come to a sort of a compromise. It's a situation that is not that has to be win-win situation. The change that has taken place recently is imposing certain facts of life that we have to consider and look into seriously and wisely. The military council now is sitting in power and is supposed to cater for the aspirations of the people. this is an unprecedented revolution that has accomplished a lot, and it should be considered, and it should be
Right.
taken into consideration that these aspirations are to be well catered for.
Right, right. And this is interesting because you say the aspirations of the
Yes.
people. Let me go to Hamid Murtada here, because aspirations of the people, the obvious question is, which people? Many disagree about what kind of Sudan they want to have. If you ask the Islamists, they have a particular view of things. If you ask other protesters and other opposition, they have another view. And we're seeing some cracks emerge now, right? So are we seeing more and more divisions among those who are in the opposition or those who are a part of the revolution, the longer this stalemate or standoff endures?
I don't see a huge division or like a major division among the opposition. What everyone is agreeing on and everyone is demanding for is a civilian-led government, a government of a civilian nature with civilian components. This is what everyone is agreeing on. Then you might find some irrelevant, in my opinion, disagreements, as you mentioned, the Islamists, and whether they want Sharia law or other people calling for other options. This is irrelevant at this stage. We are not at the stage of looking into our constitution. We're just in the stage of forming a transitional government with certain tasks that would accomplish these tasks in a specific. So at the moment, all these disagreements are irrelevant. There will come a time for the people to express their interests in the future. However, having a civilian government is something that, in my opinion, everyone agrees on and everyone wants for the future. Of course, besides the previous regime and their allies, and they are out of the equation at the moment. And this is the situation.
Yeah, Balghis, Badri, something that was very surprising to some, very heartwarming to others, and inspirational to many was that by many accounts, with a lot of the protests, at least 2/3 of those protests were led by women. Are women going to be given a chance to lead the new Sudan?
I think so, yes. There is now the acceptance that at least 40% in the new parliament are going to be women, females. And we are hoping also at the executive level, there would be, if not 40%, maybe we will have the 30%. Of course, our aims are 50-50, but still there are certain groups, when they make nominations, they don't make enough nominations for females. And that is why we might find not 50-50 or even 40% will not be achieved in the executive body. And also in the presidential level, still, despite the women were at the front line in the revolution, but still the talks are speaking about 6 civilians, 5 of them are males and 1 is a female. Still, we have to make more pressure. What is more, to me, is more important is not just the representation in numbers, but the achievements which are going to be done in terms of changes in the laws by the legislative bodies, in terms of budgets by the executive body, and policies to be directed really to help the substantial number of women who are facing problems of poverty and other problems. So it is about what the new government is going to be gender sensitive in its policies and as well as in its budget distribution, so as to fill the gender gap and to really make women happy that their contribution in the revolution is achieved, despite the numbers. Even we need men who are allies.
Right. Isam, let me ask you a slightly hypothetical question. If there was a free and fair vote today, who would the Sudanese people vote for?
Change is the name of the game. I think most people, especially young ones, would probably go for a new new line, new kind of rule. Let's remember that 30 years of despotic rule, despotic regime, has completely abolished all the inherent experience of the people. Now, we all notice that the bulk of the protesters are of the young people, women and men. And most of them claim to be, they are very much against the status quo. They want something new. They need change as such. So I believe if there were to be any free and honest elections, and any party would run a new face, young people, definitely this would acquire more votes than traditional politicians. This is of course a feature that has accompanied all change in Sudan in the revolution recently, and it's very much justified. People are revolting against the old style, right, against the old regime, and they want change into a new phase.
Yeah, and as Sudan tries to change, Hamid, I just want to ask you about money, because as you're trying to stabilize, manage this transition, the Saudis just on the weekend deposited about $250 million into the bank account of Sudan. Earlier, the Saudis and the Emiratis promised billions. What do you think they want in return from this new Sudan?
Indeed, foreign countries, specifically Saudi and Emirates, have their own agenda in why they would want to support Sudan financially. And of course, all their support comes with conditions. We know how the Sudanese military is involved in the war in Yemen, and how Saudis and Emiratis have been paying the previous government for this, and they want to continue to have the support from the Sudanese military. So all the support that they give is conditional, and this is why you would find a lot of the protesters at the sit-in protesting and chanting against these funds and this aid coming from Saudi and Emirates and Egypt and other countries that are merely supporting Sudan for their own agenda, not for the sake of helping the people of Sudan. And this is, like I said, largely have a large crowd against this.
Okay, revolutionary times in Sudan. We are paying attention, and we'll be having these conversations every few weeks to keep tabs on the future of the country. For the moment, let me thank you all, Isam, Abu Hassabu, Hamid Murtada, and Balghis Badri. It's been a pleasure having all of you on the Newsmakers.